today I'm very excited because we're going to talk about the most talked about and possibly one of the most taken drugs recently, which is basically the semaglutide, Ozempic, Wegovy, Mounjaro, whatever it is that you want to call it. But it seems that everyone is either taking it or knows someone who's taking it. But the thing is, what I want to talk about, and everyone's talking about the semaglutides, should we take it? Should we not take it? What it means. However, I want to talk about what happens post Mounjaro, what happens post Ozempic. Now, I do know as a doctor that these drugs were formulated to be taken long term because the argument is that just like if you have high blood pressure, you take medication to control your high blood pressure comes down to normal. It doesn't mean that you're okay and you can give up the high blood pressure medications. And we're finding with the semaglutides, it's the same thing, that you have to be on it for life. And if you stop taking it, what happens is that almost 70% of people usually regain the weight that they've lost, and their metabolic parameters, i.e., their diabetes, their high blood pressure, their cardiovascular markers, go up again instead of, the semaglutides helps it become normal or normalized. However, I know that you and I differ from maybe most doctors or most health professionals out there, where I believe you do think there is life post Ozempic, there is life post Wegovy, and I think it's important that people realize these are lifestyle diseases, right? And if we're not teaching our patients about the lifestyle changes they need to make and just giving them pills, then it's never going to change. We still have this broken body, really, and broken way of eating or broken way of nutrition. So basically, what happens post Wegovy? What happens post semaglutide? They cost about $12,000 per year. Not everyone can afford it. And you're not supposed to be on and off it, right? You're not supposed, or maybe you are. I don't know. What is your also take on, are we supposed to be on it to lose the weight and then we bring the lifestyle changes? So I just want to know your thoughts and how you've seen in your practice how to handle someone post Ozempic.
Wow, that's a big conversation. Well, first, thank you so much, Dr. Lemieux, for having me, and so happy to be here with you. And I just love this conversation that we're about to have. And to answer your question, the first question about post Ozempic and all the different GLP that people are on, GLP-1. I think as I teach as a health coach, I've had a private practice now for over 15 years. And, the biggest thing I see is everyone is individual. I call it bio-individuality. And for every person, everyone's different. And it really depends on the person. What I have seen so far, because it's a topic everyone's talking about. So many people are on it, and it's worked for so many people. And what I like to say is, you have a beautiful car, but what's underneath it? And I like to look at what's underneath the hood. What is the blood work telling us? How is the person actually feeling? What are the side effects? Kind of the bigger picture of, just being on these drugs. And for some people, I currently have a few clients that are on these weight loss shots, I should say. And what I'm finding is by educating my clients as they're on these shots, that when they do get off them, their taste buds have changed. They're eating lower calorie, higher fiber foods, higher water content foods, which we're going to give a little giveaway at the end about water foods. And I educate my clients on, water is a big thing. And I feel like majority of the world is dehydrated. And so even being on these shots, during and after, hydration is always the foundation, just pure water, which I have in my beautiful cup,
Thank you.
um, my Cosmic Doctor cup. So I always start with water and educating clients on water when they start these shots. And then after, when they get off, their bodies are already kind of used to being on a what I educate as a whole food plant-based diet. So that when they go off, their bodies are already accustomed to lower fats, lower saturated fats that are in a lot of dairy and animal products and things like that. So I educate a lot about the plants, whole food plants. And go ahead.
I've got, yeah, two questions there because the first question is when you talked about water and everyone's dehydrated. Well, there's this big thing, and I come from a supplement. I manufacture my own supplements, but I still have to say that everyone's like, oh, you're dehydrated. You need to take electrolytes. Do you put your patients on Ozempic, on electrolytes, or like you said, is it just plain water that people have to drink? So are we, is dehydration and slash electrolytes needed for the everyday for people who don't work out so much and don't sweat so much? So I just want to know your take on what you advise your clients.
So my clients will work with doctors that put them on these weight loss shots. And so I'm working in partnership with the doctors. So I'm the one that comes in to say, let's set up the structure and the systems. I want to hold you accountable. I'm the motivator. Get out there, work out. Are you eating your vegetables? Are you drinking your water? So to answer your question about water in general and electrolytes, it really, again, depends on the individual. Mostly we have clients that hire us. I'm saying us because I have a couple people on my team that do the heart rate conditioning. We use watches, Garmin, which I've been with for 30 years. And we use a scale, and now we're using blood pressure cuffs. So we're measuring and we're giving the reports to the doctors. So we're all in communication together. And so water, I'm going to go back to the water. As far as electrolytes go, we don't really have athletes that come to us. We have people that come to us that want to lose anywhere from 20 to 100 pounds. Majority are corporate executive men. We do coach women as well. And, they're busy on the go and traveling. And so water is a puzzle in itself to just drink plain water. There's so many things out there. And I always say nothing counts except plain water.
Okay.
Then we can move into electrolytes. Coffee doesn't count, tea, sparkling water, none of that. Let's just get you to a point where you're eventually, whoever you are, drinking, half your body weight to start, 80 ounces, let's say. And for some people, they come to us and they're drinking anywhere from 6 to 8 ounces, barely anything of plain water. Now, if we have somebody that comes to us, let's say to lose 20 pounds, and they have an athletic background, and we start training them to do their first 5K again or something like that, like a run, and we're monitoring their heart rate and we're seeing what their bodies are doing. This person is not on Ozempic. We may include electrolytes depending on what the doctor says with their blood work. So if they're deficient in something and they're sweating a lot, if they're doing hot yoga 5 days a week, we're going to incorporate some type of electrolyte for them.
Okay, so I guess for the sake of whoever's listening, if you're not sweating or really, exercising and pushing yourself, and you're on Ozempic, or hydration in general, you don't need electrolytes or these, hydration capsules, as I like to say, every single day. You need some electrolytes, you need some magnesium, you need some potassium. That's fine. But, I think that people are being pushed to hydrate, hydrate, hydrate. And, you hydrate via these like little sachets, and that's what you need. But as Dr. Michelle has correctly, and I agree with you, said it's water first, not coffee, not anything. Another thing I want to talk about is you said you put your Ozempic clients on a plant-based diet. Now, I come from Dubai and we have a lot of people who are vegetarian. We always did, but a lot of people aren't. And a lot of people tend to, especially if they go on these drugs, have very little advice is given to them with their diet. They're like, here you go, here's the pill. Just make sure you don't feel this, you don't feel that. And you can eat, and basically they eat what they want, but of course they're not eating as much because they don't feel that hungry. Why are you insisting on a plant-based diet? And do you insist on that? And what if someone says, well, I can't do that? What happens then?
That's majority of my clients. They don't do it. That's
Okay.
first. Second, let me go back for one thing. Something else I also recommend. I'm a big fan of celery juice due to the sodium content. I love green juice. I love the medical medium. I've been doing green juice since back in the day when I started. I used to do a lot of work with Hippocrates Wellness in West Palm Beach, Florida. I basically was able to heal my own and manage my IBS that they called that I had back in the day. And then I found my journey through Hippocrates and green juice and hydration with water. And, so I went on my own journey 25 years ago. That's how I got started in all of this. So I do introduce green juice slowly with certain clients, and then they can tolerate it over time. Most of them, have trouble digesting it, the taste of it, that changes over time. So I call that too like a green electrolyte as well. And usually on the plant-based diet, why I recommend it is, like you said, my clients are able to get the calcium and the magnesium and things like that in food. And so I'm highlighting and educating about certain foods that are high in calcium, that are high in sodium, natural sodium, not from a powder. So I just wanted to kind of talk about that too. Go ahead.
No, because you mentioned your green juice. I want the recipe for Dr.
Here's my
Michelle's
smoothie.
green juice.
Well,
Wow.
you're gonna
Okay.
get it.
Yeah.
You're gonna get it in
Okay.
our little takeaway.
Perfect. That's great. Because I do like juicing my greens. I like eating my greens, but I think juicing is very good, especially if you have a busy lifestyle or you're traveling. Now every hotel has, juiced greens. At least it's better than nothing. So I do like it. So okay, so we're gonna get Dr. Michelle's green juice, but let's go back to,
Well,
you
you're
know,
gonna get a green smoothie recipe.
yes.
Now the green juice is great as well because there's nothing to digest.
Yeah.
So without the fiber, I have found it very beneficial for getting in these vegetables, no fruit, but just vegetables in, our clients that are on these shots that are able to get all these nutrients where they can't handle a lot, they're full very easily. So that's a good way to kind of get some vegetables in without digesting and eating too much. They can't handle a lot.
And I would also think that people who have done bariatric surgery, this is a good thing for them as well, because again, they can't handle eating too much. And I don't think anyone's really you really have to be very careful about what you eat to make sure they're all nutritionally dense, to make sure you're getting enough of the vitamins and minerals your body needs, just because, you just can't handle so much food. So I think that green juice recommendation is also good for bariatric patients.
Yes.
But let's go back to Ozempic and Wegovy, because I think you've had success with people post Ozempic and Wegovy, and you said you actually start when they're on these injections by giving them the know-how and the knowledge. Are you basically saying eat more plants? Try and crowd out everything with more plants, just because they're more nutritionally dense, or is it because it's calorically lighter than animal products? So when they technically go off the injections, if they need to go off the injections, they're already eating really healthy anyway.
Both. I I'd like to say to clients that, and people in general, I always say this, that I don't like to really take away things from people. I like to add in things. And so I right away start adding in the greens. First it's water, then it's the greens. And then we go from there. And then we go into complex carbohydrates and things like that. I do say let's crowd out the refined, carbohydrates and sugar and all that, but that's down the road. For people, that's very difficult to do. They go back on it. And usually they're eating sugar and other things because there's other things in their life, whether they're not happy in their marriage or they're overstressed or they're, whatever it is, there's always an emotional something component behind it, typically. Or, they're not eating enough. Most people are not eating enough green, dark leafy green vegetables. And especially these dark leafy greens like kale and collards and things that when they're chewing them, they're getting that nitric oxide. And so these are things that are going to help the arteries and help the blood flow and, all anti-inflammatory. So I'm always thinking about, like you was studying in Arizona, Dr. Weil was one of my teachers for integrative medicine. And, I loved him when he spoke at my school because it was all about this anti-inflammatory diet. Now, he did have animal products in that, fish and things like that. But I really focused on the greens, and I got very interested in, feeling better and recovering quicker and reducing inflammation, which I used to have a lot of and didn't even realize I had a lot until I started eating more greens and my blood work changed and I felt better and my joints stopped hurting. And so I'm always getting feedback from clients when they start adding in the greens. They're going to the bathroom finally after 2 weeks. Some of them haven't had a bowel movement in a month.
Yeah.
I mean, this is what we're dealing with.
Yeah.
So
It's true. But, I've been, we've just had like a couple of 10 minutes of a conversation and it's greens, greens, greens. And I think it's really important that I know you've mentioned it a lot of times, but I'm going to mention it again to whoever's listening. Guys, dark greens is really important. And I'll mention maybe thylakoids, which are present in the chlorophyll, the green pigment of dark greens, and they sort of act like GLP-1 agonists as well. So they help you feel full. They help you feel satiated as well. So some people listening might be on the fence of, should I go on it? Should I not? Well, especially if you don't have a lot of weight to lose, maybe you shouldn't go on it. And maybe you should just listen to what Dr. Michelle is saying with regards to eating and just add more greens to your diet and the other recommendations she has and see where that takes you as well. So this is not just for those that are on Ozempic and Wegovy, because I think obesity is highly prevalent, right? And it's a complex chronic disease. It's not something that there's one thing to solve it. It isn't. And, it's associated with a lot of complications, cardiovascular, hormonal, hypertension, just everything. So I think this is very good advice to everyone. But I hear you loud and clear. Greens, greens, and more greens. Now, tell me a little bit about the water-filled vegetables that you like to put people on. And what are your favorites and what are your clients' favorites? I know you're giving us a really nice
let me give you a little sheet
gift
about this.
Yes.
This is actually something that one of my colleagues, Dr. Michael Greger, who I actually brought to Naples in January of 2024. And this is out of his book. I tweaked a little bit of some of this from his How Not to Die book.
Mm-hmm.
And I love it because it breaks down how much water is in certain foods. And most people are eating dry foods, like breads and things like that. Oh, we're both drinking water. So letting people know, that's about 40% water compared to 100% if you're having something like asparagus, things like that. So some of my favorites are beets. I like beets. Celery, I always start off with a green smoothie in the morning. I mean, this is my breakfast. And I will start clients off on my 5 ingredient signature smoothie, which they'll get a copy of, because there's still people say, well, whole food plant-based is a low fat way of eating. And it is. But when you put hemp seeds, there's fat. You're getting some fat in there. So there's fat in certain nuts and seeds and things like that. But in this 5 ingredient smoothie, it's nice because it starts people off with just spinach. And I find spinach to be a great dark leafy green, high water content vegetable because you can hide it. It's great for children, as you know, with
Yeah.
your family. They don't know what's in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it turns green, but you throw blueberries in there and then it's blue. They don't even know
Yeah.
what's in there. So it's kind of finding ways to disguise it even for adults and just getting that spinach in there, getting that nitric oxide in there. That's going to be a great start for the taste buds on our tongue to change. Because our taste buds, one of my favorite books is called The Pleasure Trap. And one of my colleagues, he works at True North, where they do water fasting. He wrote this book, and I give it to every client when they start with me because it really shows us the addiction that we have on our tongue with oil, salt, and sugar. So that spinach will kind of counteract that in the beginning when they start.
Can I just also highlight, sometimes Google is a good thing and social media is a good thing, and sometimes it's an absolute headache because, now they're beginning to, you've got every time I mention spinach, everyone's, well, what about the oxalates in spinach? And I'm like, well, you really have to be eating quite a bit of spinach, first of all, to get to these high levels. But, do you have maybe clients that are sensitive to these high, and by the way, if you're not sensitive to these oxalates, it's not going to affect you. But if you are, and if you have a tendency towards some, kidney stones or things like that, then, there are things you can do. I don't believe in stopping it or completely avoiding it, because you don't need to. You just shouldn't have lots and lots and lots. But what is your take on oxalates and, this, they're trying to, just like soy and, the frightening things that they say about soy and soy milk products, but also, oxalate. And if you do have a client that does have a tendency to kidney stones, do you do anything? What do you do?
What I do in the beginning is I will say, I want you to let your doctor know that we're working together, that you've hired a health coach. Is there anything you need to avoid? I want to get that in writing, and I want us to look at that together with your doctor. So that's the start in the beginning. So again, there's a team that we have together. And depending on, because every client will come in and they'll fill out a health history form. We'll review it, I'll review it. And we look at everything. So if somebody comes in with kidney disease, there are certain foods that I go to my colleagues that are lifestyle medicine doctors, and I'll say, is there new research out there? I'm part of several different organizations like the American College of Lifestyle Medicine and all of that. So I will look into for myself the latest research on kidney disease, and talk to their doctor and my colleagues and find out. And it takes some time. I don't just give someone spinach here and there and
Yeah.
see what's going to affect someone. So I had so many thoughts of what you just said. Let me gain my thought back.
So I think
it's
so
the
what you're
spinach
saying is,
and the oxalates.
yeah. So what you're
So
saying
what
is,
I do,
have
Mhm.
if you have no problem, you shouldn't even think of avoiding it, right?
What I'll say is the spinach is better than your Coca-Cola and your
Yeah.
Diet Coke. I have them look at the big picture. Okay, look,
Yeah.
you're doing Diet Coke Zero, you're doing Coca-Cola, you're eating out 6 nights a week, and you're eating potato chips. So I wouldn't worry so much about the spinach at the moment. Let's focus on other things that you're putting in your body, these colorings and chemicals and the Windex in your house. And you know what I'm saying? There's
Yeah.
so many people focus on celery, it must be the celery that I'm nauseous, even though you're on this
Mhm.
weight loss shot. It couldn't be that. It has to be the celery. It's not the celery. Maybe if you have a food sensitivity or food allergy, but I think most people focus more on these healthy things because it really is a dedication to eat healthy.
Yeah,
It
you're right.
really,
It
as
could
you
be,
know.
yeah, it could be psychological where people are like, oh no, you see, it's healthy and so it has oxalates, so I can't have it. And I'm, well,
Kale's bad, kale's
I
bad. I
know.
hear that all the time.
I think what I would say is if you are concerned, even though you have no, your doctor says there's no reason to be concerned, but if you are concerned, you can just blanch your spinach in a little bit of water because by cooking, boiling, or steaming spinach, it gets rid of a high amount of oxalates. But
Yes.
it's the nutrient anti-nutrient argument. There are nutrients that act as anti-nutrients, but these, even when they act as anti-nutrients, they do actually have a role to play in your body. So sometimes eat your spinach raw, and sometimes, yes, you can cook it. That's fine. So that's my take. I think with when it comes to food, it's very much customization, and that's a big part of what you do, isn't it, Dr. Michelle?
It's very personal. And one thing I want to say is I always teach to listen to our bodies because for me, I know corn, for instance, is, a wonderful whole food plant-based vegetable to have. And I know I don't feel good on it. I know I have a food sensitivity to it. So even though it looks delicious and it might be at a social event where I am, I know intuitively I don't feel good. So if someone with spinach is like, I can't do spinach, I'll say, okay, great. There's 20 other greens we're going to go look at. And
Yeah.
I'll tell them to throw Swiss chard in the instead of the spinach. Throw it in the blender, don't think about it. So if it doesn't feel right or there's too much energy around it, I just tell people, let's move on, forget the spinach. And maybe in 3 months they come back, okay, I'm ready for the spinach. It might just be the timing as
True.
well. So, what were you gonna?
So, no, I was just going to ask you, so when you put people on, when they're on these glutides, you're basically telling them more plants, green juices or smoothies. You've got a recipe for Dr. Michelle's green smoothie in the morning, and water rich foods, or plants that are rich in or have a high concentration of water in them. And now my next question is protein. Isn't that especially okay? We're going to only talk about
That's
protein.
like 10 hours of a
I
show.
know, but I just want to touch about and this is, and you're a triathlon, so protein to you is very important. So I just want to touch on protein with regards to people who are on Ozempic. Okay, how much protein they should be aiming for every day, because we know that there is a substantial loss of lean muscle mass when you're on these semaglutides. So how much protein should they be on? Are you a little strict as in, plant-based or uh, animal-based protein? And I just want to hear your thoughts just with regards to these people, with regards to the people on Ozempic.
So most of my clients who are on Ozempic and these drugs are eating out pretty much every night. Okay. And that's my clientele. They're not cooking, they're not in the kitchen. Some have a chef, so the food's prepared for them, but they don't like to cook. So I'm working with clients that are social, they're going to homes, some of them are entertaining, but they're getting food that's catered. So someone else is making it. We don't know what's in the food. And then also eating out at restaurants, traveling, eating first class meals on planes. So, they're not preparing their own food to say, I know exactly how much protein is in my meal, because when we go to restaurants, we know we're not getting a 6 ounce or 3 ounce steak, we're getting 20 ounce. Well, obviously they can't eat 20 ounces on these shots, and they can only eat a small amount. So it's not really with protein, because my clients that are on these shots are not eating large quantities of food anymore. It's such a small amount of food. So it's finding the balance for them where they're eating those complex carbohydrates and the protein and the vegetables and the dark leafy greens. Okay. Those are my main 4 things that I try and work with them on, and the water. Now, as far as protein and fat and carbohydrates, most people don't really understand what any of that is. They're words. And what I like to do is focus on protein that has fiber, like beans. So they can actually go to the bathroom, because again, most people are not going to the bathroom. So animal products have no fiber. So, and are very high in saturated fat. So if they're trying to lose fat, and they have, for most people that come to me, have, their LDL's high, their triglycerides, yes, they get lower on these shots. But I'd say I don't really have a recipe or template to say, here's the calculation for your protein on Ozempic, because everyone's different. And I will say that, men are different, women are different. They're what they weigh. I can't really take a man that's 230 pounds and say, you can only have 3 ounces of steak. I'm thinking more of not the protein for him. I'm thinking of the fat content for him and the fiber. And so the whole world's consumed about protein, but really we're fiber deficient. So I'm focusing on a high fiber diet, water content, that kind of angle, more than how much protein are you eating. No, I guarantee you, people are not protein deficient. They're fiber deficient.
I have to say that's really interesting, and I am a big believer in that we're not getting enough fiber. Even vegetarians, it's very easy to be vegetarian but eat high processed foods and still not get enough fiber. So that's really interesting, because it's the protein thing is just raging on, but very few people are actually talking about fiber.
They're not talking about fiber. You're never going to see it on the news. It's very
Yeah.
rare. Unless it's somebody from lifestyle medicine and they come on somehow, it's very rare to see it. I tell people, go eat a sweet potato. You want some protein? Go get quinoa, fiber. Go have some beans. And everyone always says, like one of the guys I ran with the other day, I run in this running group, and he said, but I have gas. I said, so? So what?
With
Yes, you're going to have gas for 3 months probably. And there's
and
ways around it.
can I say something? In the Middle East, what we
Yeah,
do is we put cumin on all our beans. We just take the
wonderful.
cumin because it helps with the gas, and it helps move things along, and it really does help. So we have this, like, just put some cumin, and it makes it taste really good. Another thing I want,
I'm thinking of a
yeah,
new marketing for you. The
what?
cumin gas condiment
Yes, or here's my vitamin C,
with your
my
other
cocoa,
cosmetics.
yeah, with my cocoa collagen, and here's for the gas. But there is a very good product called a birogast that is
Hmm.
good for people who have a lot of gas, until the bacteria in your gut and your body get used to this yummy new fiber that you're giving them. So it does
Yes.
take about 3 months. And another thing I want to talk about with you is, you used to not hear it at all with people taking Ozempic, but now everyone's saying, oh, you need to exercise because you're going to lose lean muscle mass. So, what is your opinion on the importance of muscle exercise if you're on Ozempic, or what kind of, because I know you use exercise as a prescription. You're like,
Yes.
exercise is part of your prescription. So talk to us, especially you being a triathlon, talk to us a little bit about that.
Well, I'm always looking at the latest research, scientific research, especially in the lifestyle medicine world, to understand what are the new studies And I'm always excited to see new studies that are coming out with exercise, because I remember, and I'm sure you remember back in the day, it's the American Heart Association came out so many years ago. Oh, 3 days a week is enough of exercise. No, it's 5 days a week, minimum 45 minutes to an hour a day. Well, when
Well,
people, go ahead.
sorry, the latest research is actually saying that you're better off constantly moving and you're doing exactly what they're saying. I'm sitting down, you're not, you're standing up. And they said,
Yes, this is my
every 20,
stand-up desk.
which I need to get one, but you have to move almost every 20 minutes. They did a really elegant study where it was, what about if you sit down or you're sedentary and you just do you're just sedentary, or you're sedentary during the day, like you have a desk job, but you do that 1 hour of exercise a day, or three, you don't do that 1 hour of exercise a day, but you do move every 20 minutes. You're moving. And they found that, yes, the 1 hour a day of exercise is better than being sedentary, but what's even better is that movement every 20 minutes. So they performed the best. And so I still do the 1 hour a day, and I try and get 4 to 5 days in. But I also now am being 50 years old, I'm very aware that, yeah, I got to keep moving. I can't keep sitting down. So I think that I spent on a sauna, and maybe my next big purchase for health is going to be a standing desk. But take us through the exercise. And I don't want to complicate things, because then people say, oh, so Dr. Me says I shouldn't do that 1 hour a day. Whew, thank God. No, I'm not saying that.
Well, I'll send you a link for my desk.
Okay,
And
thanks.
I'll be 50 in July, so I'm with you. Okay. And I feel very different today at
Yeah.
49 years old than I did 20 years ago. I actually feel better today than I did 20 years ago, because I have been whole food plant-based for 8 years. And it really changed my life as an athlete, and on so many levels. But the exercise, what we do and teach is heart rate training. And to me, I have found that when people can understand your heart rate zones, because there's a 5 zone theory. And if you can keep it very basic, which we do, we don't get into lactate threshold and all this other stuff. And we don't have triathletes in our company. We don't have, as I mentioned, we turn our clients into athletes. They don't come in as athletes. I believe everyone's an athlete inside. And as they lose the weight and they learn about their bodies and they feel better, they're motivated to start moving more. But with the heart rate, what's nice about it is we are teaching our clients to really start getting in touch with their bodies, being present and being able to understand what their heart is doing. And so by learning even a zone 1 with walking, we keep people at a zone 1, even a low zone 2, for 16 weeks. Okay. I'm talking if they go to a spin class, or they're with their, if they're already running, they don't like us in the beginning, because we're asking them to walk now because their heart rate is too high running. And so as people start eating better, they're sleeping better, they're meditating. That's a whole nother topic, because I'm connected with transcendental meditation, which we also have our clients go through. So when they start meditating and they're getting rid of the alcohol and the refined sugar, they're doing less alcohol for some, their heart rate's lower. So they're able to, in 16 weeks, run again with their friend. But in the beginning, we have to show them that your heart rate's working way too hard. You're pushing already. Most people are, as we know, are very stressed out in life, and different types of stress. So heart rate has been a great way for people to track and understand and get present in their bodies and burn fat, because really you burn fat, not calories, in the lower heart rate zones. And so the guys that work with me, they're 2 brothers. They've been with me like 10 years. One of them was my Ironman coach. One's in Vail in Michigan. And it's been great, us working, all of us together. But we're teaching this very simple, basic system. And then people get to track it every day and see and feel good about themselves. Like, I'm doing it. And And I think by having a coach that people can get feedback from us, I think that's key. And it doesn't have to be a coach, it could be a buddy. I text you and say, "Did you do your walk today? Were you in zone one? I saw your Garmin." And so it's kind of a fun way once you get conditioned. And if someone's been injured and, they have to start over again, it's a nice way to get conditioned in 16 weeks. Sometimes it's 12 weeks, but it all depends on what you're eating and how you're sleeping, etc.
I was just going to say, I think that zone one, zone two, going, especially if you're used to maybe playing, or doing more intense exercise, but eating really horrible ultra processed foods, once you start feeding your cells, remember, it's not just feeding yourself, you're just feeding your cells this nutrient dense food that your cells has by evolution craves and needs, then you don't need to maybe work so hard, do you see, to try and be healthy because you're already halfway there. I feel that food is 50% and exercise is 50%. I mean, some people would say it's 20-80 and whatever, but especially the older you get, the more important you realize and all the benefits that exercise brings to you. But it's proper exercise where your cells can handle it because you're also feeding them the proper nutrients they need. And you just said sleep. Can you tell me a little bit about what you do with your clients and what I love about your practice and why I'm so excited to have you on the show is because most of the podcasts out there are with these amazing scientists, amazing doctors who actually deal with professional athletes. But that's not you or me. That's not me or anybody listening. We are just normal people wanting to know what is best for us. So, having said that, can we know a little bit about sleep and how many hours and what you do and
So what I do personally or what I do with clients?
what you do with clients, and then thank you for suggesting what you do personally as well.
Well, I've been called a grandma before because I go to bed at around 9:30 and I get up at 4 a.m. every morning. And I've always gotten up at 4 a.m. I probably was a monk in another lifetime. Um, but I got up early. My dad, who passed when I was 9, he would take me on a newspaper route. So I learned at a very early age to get up in the dark, be with him. And then when he passed, I would start running. That's how I got into my exercise by myself in the dark at 9 years old. My mother didn't know she was sleeping. And so I learned that and I teach that. I teach my clients not to get up at 4 a.m. because none of them would hire me. But
Yeah.
I would say to them, look, if you can follow that circadian rhythm and you can go to bed, from 10 to 6, wake up at 6 a.m., go to bed at 10, but as close as you can get to 10. And when people say, we all know it's good for us to be off social media and television, all that, an hour before bed. Well, no one does that. It's a very small percentage if they do. So I'll say, 30 minutes before bed, try and read something and nothing that's stressful, something relaxing. Or talk to your spouse or partner, whoever. Pet your cat. I don't care what it is, but something that's relaxing, prepping you for bed. And sometimes I'll say 20 minutes because it's hard. People are doing Instagram and everything else before and then they go to bed.
That's
So
true.
I kind of have this pre-bed ritual with them and it's longer, so I'll keep it quick. And then meditation has been great because with transcendental meditation, it's twice a day. So it's first thing in the morning and then before dinner. So our
Can I say
clients,
something? It's
yeah.
funny how many similarities we have. I've also I'm a transcendental meditation person, and I did the I did
Oh,
I did the course as well, and I loved it. So just anyone out there, it is something I really do recommend. Out of all the meditation modalities that I have tried, this is the one that has resonated the most with me and has stayed with me for decades. And it is very powerful, not just to relieve your stress, but also we're all about manifesting our dream life, right? And manifesting what we want. And I feel that that is a very powerful tool for both stress release, but and spirituality, keeping you grounded, giving you resilience, but also helping you achieve your life goals. So I'm just going to say
I love it. That's why I liked you when I met you.
that.
And my cousin David loves you. But
I know.
I knew right when I met you. You know, there's something, and I just started doing TM in 2017, so it hasn't been that long for me. I went through all the advanced training. I'm going through the city program this year in Palm Beach. So I just love it. And it's helped me so much. I can't even believe that I meditate. I did a TM talk, and they interviewed me, and I can't believe that I can sit for even, I could never even sit for 30 seconds with myself. I'd have to get up and go. So I share that with my clients because in the beginning and with people, oh, I don't have time to meditate. I can't meditate. I couldn't either. I get it. But over time, like you add your spinach in, your body starts to crave the spinach. It starts to crave more plain water. It craves the meditation. And the meditation I have found before dinner at 6 o'clock, I go on that TM call with Bob Roth out in New York. I have my clients go on there too when they can, and 6 p.m. Eastern time. And it's been a great way for people to have better sleep because they've let the stress out for those 20 minutes. They're sitting, the stress is going, they have, brand new energy, and then they're able to go to sleep without all the problems that they were feeling from the day and the
Can I
stress.
also can I also say that it is a also the patients and the clients, when you say, oh, you need to meditate for sleep, it'll help you sleep, they're like, oh, just give me magnesium, oh, just give me a pill, oh, just give me a herbal thing, which I've done. I'm coming out with a sleep supplement, but meditation is just so much more than that. It also is. Magnesium cannot achieve your life goals for you, right? You have to let go of the impediments to your growth in order to achieve your life goals. All the valerian root in the world, including my supplement, will not give you that. So there are many other benefits to meditation, and you're just scratching the surface. It's a very powerful tool, and I do agree with you. And I love that you actually make your clients, do it, because it's so, oh, if you can meditate, that would be great, but it's not, it's just so much more than that. And I come from a family that never believed in meditation. They believed in the power of prayer, but not meditation. So it's been a learning curve, and a very delightful learning curve for me.
That's great. And I think too, it's wonderful to see the transformation with my clients that start meditating a year from after they start it. And these are busy people, big lives. And I always say, the clients, I have so much respect for the clients that come to us because they are so busy and they have no time to put health in the forefront. And so I know that. And so I always say to them, and I say this in general, the busier you are, the more meditation you need. Because you can just have an expanded, bigger life, like you said, with the manifestation, although you're not coming from reaction mode all the time.
True.
So,
No, I love
and
it. So
this helps sleep. I'm not promoting
it,
selling, but
I,
vitamin C
yes.
has been I just want to say one thing because I love this and thank you for sending me all these because I've been giving them out to clients that are local here and I would like to get some to LA and New York and everywhere else. But I will say that vitamin C, especially today with COVID, with the immune system, but also with sleep, it is really helping people, not just with magnesium, but I've seen a difference in myself and also with my mother and my clients and my grandmother. And so I even gave a packet to my 96-year-old grandmother who I'll see Friday.
Oh,
So
give
she
her my
tried it.
regards.
She can't taste anything, but she tried it. So yeah, I love what you're offering people. with your
And, and
supplements.
and it's based on real food,
Yes.
because I put acerola cherry in it. We said we were fiber deprived. I also believe we're vitamin C deprived because it's no longer, what's it, farm to table. I mean, who has a farm in their backyard? Who grows their own vegetables? Very few. So even me, I have a greenhouse, I grow my own vegetables, and I still get the bulk of my food, maybe 50 to 60% sometimes from, the supermarket. And once you pick it, you know how low the vitamin C goes. So I'm not saying that it's a bad thing to eat from the supermarket. Not at all. We have to. I mean, this is modern day living, but don't be surprised when I say we do have, we do need more vitamin C, even if we eat this beautiful, very healthy diet. We do need some help. But what I'd like to do is go back to your experience. So now you told us the three main, or the five, I would say, main things that we need to do if we're on Ozempic, right? It is eat more greens, move, eat more plant-based products, sleep well, and meditate. Now, your experience with when your clients, being on Ozempic is like, oh, okay, we won't even talk about the side effects other people have. We can do it another time. But, it really is a great thing because they don't feel, if they don't feel nauseous, it's not that hard. What happens once they're off it? Your clients who have already done the 5 pillars,
Mm-hmm.
what is your experience? Because if you look at the data isn't very good for people maintaining the weight loss once they've come off these semaglutides.
Well, we've only had a couple now that have gotten off it. And what I will say is, one gentleman lost about 47 pounds, I think. And the lady lost, I want to say, about 38 pounds. One of them was following the whole food plant-based during, and the other one wasn't. So they're both very different. What I can say is the gentleman has put back on 12 pounds already, who isn't willing at the time, right now, well, let me say this. He's eating out more like he was before. He's eating out and eating the same foods. This is one that's not plant-based.
Okay.
So he's eating out the foods he was eating before, but larger quantities now. See, because now, and he's craving alcohol more now than he was before. He wasn't as much before. So that really changed for him. He didn't really want as much alcohol. Now he does. So those two things right there, and eating larger portions with the higher fat diet, animal products and things like that, low fiber, no fiber, that's put on that weight. Now for the lady, I think with her, it's been more of less exercise that we're focusing on now because she's traveling so much. So I think that's the only thing missing. And she's probably put on about 8 pounds now. I'd have to look at how many months it's been. Maybe 3 months. So it's more of the exercise is less than it was before. And I feel like once we get her back on that exercise routine and a plan, she'll take it off. I have a feeling. But again, she's eating bigger portions too.
The thing is, and that's what gets to me. Like, I'm not against semaglutides. On the contrary, I think they're a better alternative to bariatric surgery. Sometimes you have to choose the lesser of two evils, right? But what I think that these semaglutide manufacturers and pharmaceutical companies really haven't done, and I think it's in their best interest to do, is to say that, you can be on our drugs, but the reason you need to be on our drugs is because of your eating, exercise, and lifestyle habits. And if you don't look into these and change these 3 things, then you will forever be on this, what's it, gerbil,
The
what
hamster
you call
wheel.
the hamster wheel, and you'll never get off because you can't fix something while you're still doing the wrong things. The wrong things
Hmm.
to your body will lead to, you know, bad health. And so the reason they say, oh, but you get on our drugs and you are healthier, your metabolic parameters are better, your lipid parameters are better. It's like, yes, because they've lost these 10 kilos or 20 kilos, not necessarily because they are healthier. If they're still eating the bad food they're eating, they're just
Hmm.
eating less of it. So they're just, hurting themselves less, but they're still
Hmm.
hurting themselves. So I just don't know why, especially with all the information, all the data that we have, that these drug manufacturers don't say, we really do want you to change your lifestyle. See a coach, see a nutritional. And I think that will make superheroes out of Ozempic instead of people going, oh, look what happens afterwards. Oh, you have to be on it all the time. Oh, yeah. You know, I think that obesity is not directly related to one thing, and there's not one thing that can completely solve it. And really, don't we want people to be healthier? Isn't that what pharmaceutical companies should want? I'm not even, I don't subscribe to this big pharma thing,
We
but
know
real,
why. We know
yeah,
why.
I just want the pharmaceutical companies to hear me as a doctor saying, this is what we want you to do. It's not going to take away from your sales at all. But can you just think of the bigger picture? And so, for me, it's like, I like it when people work with coaches such as yourself,
Hmm.
where you're like, there's much more that you need to treat. It's your sleep. Are you sleeping? I mean, no one says that. If I go in right now and say I want Ozempic, first of all, they won't say you're too thin, you don't need it. They'll say, oh yeah, sure. I'll be like, oh, bikini season, I need a few kilos. I'm sure I can find a doctor who'll say, yeah, yeah, I'll give some to you. And I'm sure the next question will not be, do you exercise? Do you weight train? And how much do you sleep? They'll be like, a bit of GI issues. I hope they'll ask me about my retinopathy or pancreatic issues, just because there are, severe side effects that come from that. But, why can't we do, as doctors and as pharma companies, because we are hand in hand, right? Why
Hmm.
can't we just give better, a better healing, a better just, I'm here to a better cure. Why can't we give this full cure, this 360 cure that is not going to be very difficult to implement? Some will, some won't, but at least you've said the truth. At least you've said, you need to change. We'll give you this. It'll take away 10% of your body weight or 17%, but don't you want 20% off? We can, if you also put these lifestyle make these lifestyle changes. Um,
I think some places are like Weight Watchers, they have their
okay.
coaches. And I think there's some of my clients go to these spas, these medical weight loss spas. I have a few of those clients that do that. They're all over the place now. You just go in, you get a shot, leave. Usually they
Yeah.
don't really ask you any questions. Oh, you're nauseous? That's okay. It's normal to be nauseous and have diarrhea and headaches. And I mean, that's kind of the world we're living in. But we have a broken system. We have a sick care system, and it's not designed to get you well. And that's
Sure.
the truth. And and what I what gets me excited and out of bed every day and jumping out of bed is you and I have the opportunity to, okay, that's that. And how can we help people? How can we, bring in these water content foods? How can we just be a good listener and let people share what they're going through and how hard life is and they're grieving over a lost sibling, or you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I feel like that when people eventually decide to go off this, for some that do, it's really dealing with what I talked about in the beginning, underneath the hood. Like, what is it and why are you eating so much chocolate and sugar at night when you live alone and you're lonely, or you're not talking to your spouse, or like, what is it underneath it all that did you drink enough water that day? Did you exercise that day? So it's kind of, you know, teaching people to start asking their own questions, reevaluating their day. And there's a lot we can bring to the table to have, people get to know themselves through meditation, through yoga, through things that are very healing aside from taking the shot, and that you can bring both together. And that's how I've always been as a health coach. I've always worked with clients that are traveling, are eating out, aren't cooking. Most of them don't want to go whole food plant-based, you know. Some of them they got the results and decided to go back another direction. They didn't get the same results and they saw that, but they're not going to make the change. So it's just really understanding human beings,
That's true. That's
you
true.
know?
I think a lot of it is psychological. I have someone I know who, this was like in the days before Ozempic, but more than 2 decades ago, who went for bariatric surgery, but went to a very good hospital who actually made him see a psychologist just to make sure that food wasn't a crutch. And then when he or she could not have the food, is that going to lead to depression? Because they found a lot of people were very depressed
Mm-hmm.
afterwards. And, food is very comforting to us.
Yes.
And it's something that we need to realize. And we need to also help support when you can't, what do you use for comfort then? And that's where you build resilience. And that's where maybe the meditation comes in, even the exercise and exercising with a buddy you mentioned. It's not
Yes.
just to remind you to do what you do, but also to help support you on your journey towards a healthier you. But isn't this journey of life anyway, where you're always evolving, hopefully to something better? We always want to get better and better, whether it's
Yes.
healthier, whether it's here. I will say that a lot of people have asked me, are there concerns about stopping the drug suddenly? And I'm not there is no, you don't have to taper off. You can stop it. However, why did your clients come off the drugs? Is it because they said we can't do it anymore, or we like where we are, can we stop it? Knowing that this is supposed to be a long-term solution,
Mm-hmm.
because they could just stay on maintenance dose. What is it that made them? Is it a stop? Is it also, it is expensive. So,
Not the money, the side
yeah.
effects.
Okay. Yeah.
So the side effects, and not sure long term with their health and their liver and their heart and everything else that they've already, came into working with me having. And so our clients, we have them do this clearly test, it's called. And lifestyle medicine doctors recommend, a few of my colleagues will write scripts for my clients, and just to kind of see on these shots what's going underneath, what's in their heart, blockages or things that you may not see with typical scans. So I'm always, again, looking underneath and seeing what's going on with their bodies. But to answer your question, the side effects became too much. Like, they ended up, then taking an Advil again, or an ibuprofen, all these things that eventually are going to give, taxing on the kidneys and the liver and everything else. So it's okay for 1 year, but you're going to keep doing this for the rest of your life. You're going to have more issues down the road. So the side effects are the biggest thing.
Now, can you just give us a little bit more detail for whoever's listening and is on Ozempic? What are the tests that you actually do recommend? Not just the normal tests that the everyday that the doctors usually perform, but is there a few tests, looking under the hood, that they should really look into and make sure they're having done?
A couple of the colleagues that I work with, um, we have one lifestyle medicine doctor who I've partnered with here in Collier County. And so he will recommend these inflammatory marker tests. And there's certain tests that, and also Dr. Esselstyn, who I studied with, who was with the Cleveland Clinic, who wrote Prevent and Reverse Heart Disease. So I focus mostly on heart disease, and which we're seeing a lot more people today with heart issues. A lot from the vaccines we're hearing, plus, with the weight loss shots. But so asking your doctor to look into more detailed inflammatory markers, and I can get you those certain ones that Dr. Esselstyn recommends. But this Clearly test is something that's out of pocket, it's not covered under insurance, gives people, especially when people are 40 and over, I even say even in their 40s now, to go get it done and just see what's going on in your body that's maybe other tests aren't seeing. Because people, when you're overweight and a lot of people are exercising very hard, more than they need to, they're not looking at heart rate, and then they have a heart attack.
Yeah.
So I think, to me, the Clearly is one of the best tests. And then, beyond CBC and metabolic and everything else, I think there's these inflammatory markers that are key. I could get those
Okay.
to you. I don't have them offhand.
Perfect. That would be great because a lot of my listeners are not based in the US. So, it'll be nice to give them a list of what you recommend. But it's been really lovely speaking to you, and I'd like to get you on another show just to talk about
Yes.
heart disease, especially concerning women and postmenopausal women, because heart disease is the leading cause of death in women
Mm-hmm.
after menopause, even more than men. And everyone thinks that, oh no, women are sort of protected and it must be breast cancer. Well, actually, it isn't. It's heart disease, guys.
Yes.
So I think that we need to talk about that as well. But Dr. Michelle,
The silent
this
killer. That's what
exactly,
for
exactly, and
women.
the preventable one as
Yes.
well. And
Yes.
it's easy to prevent. I mean, cancer is a little bit more complicated, but with cardiovascular disease, there are some definite steps you can take that definitely give you results and reduce your risk. So I would love to do that. But this has been amazing. Do you have anything else that maybe I haven't covered for Ozempic and post-Ozempic?
No, I feel like our topics that we talked about could go many series, so
I
many
know.
things. It's just such an honor to be with you, and I'm so glad we
Thank you.
connected. I love what you're up to. I really enjoy all these different supplements that you shared with me. And
Thank you.
as I mentioned, the vitamin C, which I love and my
Thank
clients love.
you.
And it's just great to meet someone like-minded, because I feel like today there's so far and few of us today,
True, true.
and
And
not
it's
kind of getting in that herd.
Yeah, and especially evidence-based.
Yes.
Some doctors are great, but they go very like, no, 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 stay evidence-based, guys. And it is an honor to have you on our show. We loved
Thank
having you, and we're
you.
going to have you on a few others because I do want to pick your brain about, a few other diets. I don't want to get into the cardiovascular because that's something I really want to do just separately. But thank you for your green smoothie recipe, which we will have, and your water
Water
vegetables with
content.
with the
Yep.
water content. And I just want everyone to know that, we are having a metabolic issue. We have a metabolic cellular issue in this world, and it really has to do with what you eat first and foremost, and movement.